Nathaniel, the Prospect Wood, thank you very much for coming on the Granite Zero podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me, mate. It's good to be here.
Mate, seriously, privilege and the honour is all mine. Just gutted that you weren't there on the London card.
I know, mate. Watching it live was killing me inside. I was having a good night. I was smiling, but inside I was dying, man. Watching everyone compete, especially with how the crowd was on the night. It was bittersweet.
I watched it on the box, and it was it looked electric. Like it was as though the fans had been waiting for that long, and they're finally allowed out into a proper fight arena and let their hair down and go mental. It must have been just amazing just to be in the crowd. But
yeah, mate, it was exactly like you just said. I could tell that the crowd had been waiting for that for a long time. I think it's been 3 years. I think it's been 3 years now since the last one. And you could tell, that the fans were happy to have the UFC back. I think the ticket masters could tell as well. That's why they pumped them prices up to crazy.
Definitely.
So yeah, it was quite a proud moment because I was like, this is my hometown, and like no other crowd I think you'll see. So hopefully the UFC can come back soon and actually have me on the card for this one.
Well, well, from what Uncle Dana said, he wants to do it as soon as possible, doesn't he? Because I don't know whether he's playing up to the cameras or what, but he was like, I'd have it there every week. It's like, I'll fucking do it. Yeah. I'm sure I can guarantee you'd fill it out every week as well if you did.
Yeah, and it is getting to that stage, I think, where I think the UFC could easily sell out football stadiums. They sell the tickets instantly. So if they're selling the tickets instantly and the crowd is as buzzing as it was like that, and I had so many people trying to message me asking for more tickets, I think to myself, I don't think they would have problems selling it to stadiums. I'm not saying Wembley, like 80,000, but
you know what? I generally don't think it'd be far off that, mate. If I'm honest,
no, I don't think that's all.
Because obviously us English, us British, we have like a football culture, you might say, and you have the likes of. We'll use Ricky Hatton for example. He used to take fucking God knows how many over to Vegas with him.
Yeah.
And I think that the MMA, UFC, Bellator, and things like that, I think more and more fans are starting to move away from the boxing side into mixed martial arts side. And I think like the likes of Ricky Hatton, their sort of fan base is now moving over to the exciting fighters like yourself and Paddy and whatnot. It's like I think you guys could sell out stadiums quite easily.
Yeah, I believe so. And imagine, obviously the main event was Tom Aspinall and Volkanovski, but imagine Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Or you bring in some guys like that, and I really don't see any issues selling out football stadiums. So don't get me wrong, I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I don't know how, beneficial it would be for the UFC to do that. I don't know what the profit margins are like, or whether it's more about, they just make the money pay-per-view. But for me, in regards to how many people can you fit in a building, they can do the O2 every week and wouldn't have an issue. So
I think you're right.
The future is bright for the UFC, and the loose talks about them coming back this year and or to Liverpool, Manchester, etc. It's exciting stuff. So I just hope that obviously I'll be on it and I can represent my hometown.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's back. Like, unfortunately for myself, I missed out on it was literally just before lockdown happened, like the first lockdown, the big one. I had tickets to go and see Mason Jones fight for Cage Warriors for the belt. Yeah. And I was buzzing. It was going to be my first proper event going to see a fighter that's been on the show before. And I was fucking super excited. And the next thing we know, can't. I was like, fuck's sake. And then, did you did a couple of fights, didn't you, in the lockdown in the Fight Island, wasn't it?
Yeah.
See that. How was that fighting on that? Because it seemed I've spoken to Mason about it, and he said, well, a fight's a fight. I that's my job.
But yeah, for me, I felt the fight I didn't really feel was an issue. Coming out wasn't really an issue because you're kind of that tunnel vision and the adrenaline rush is kicking in. After the fight, it felt really weird, you know, especially when I fought John Castaneda and, you know, got my hand raised and you're like, okay, there's no one here. You know, there's literally a couple of people just clapping like that. Yeah, that was. But the actual fight itself, man, it was quite nice. It was like a rough spar. You know, I could hear my cornerman like they were
like 100% spar.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong, it's not the same as fighting in your hometown, having that crowd behind you, but it wasn't really a problem. It just wasn't as exciting, let's say, you know.
Because you fought before, haven't you, in the UFC on a London card? Is that right, or did I just make that up?
Yes. Yeah, in 2019.
Yeah, cool. Because what's it like having that added pressure of fighting in your like home country, hometown? Do you does that elevate you more, or do you get like extra nervous?
Yeah, no, it does for me. It gives me more nerves, but I do well under them nerves. You know, pressure. And for me, I perform well under the pressure. So the more pressure you put on me, the better I'm going to perform. So for me, I welcome it. Yeah, you know, I have no issues with it whatsoever. And there are times where you might be in the fight and you might need that little extra buzz of, you know, I can't let these people down. So yeah, that always does give that little extra.
I've said this before, because I've had Jack Shaw, Liz Carmouche, and yourself now, and Mason on, and I was like, I don't want to sound like a dickhead because the only thing that I've done to that sort of level was a white collar boxing match. I've also had Brad on. I've had the mentor on. I've had One Punch on, and he was fucking brilliant. But we'll get into that in a minute. But I did a white collar event, and of course I had my friends and family there. I sold a good 100+ tickets. It was for me that was a big fucking deal. Like, so I'm not putting it to your guys' level, but for me, it wasn't the fight itself that gave me the nerves. It was letting people down that have paid money to come and see me perform. So I was like, I've had, this sounds stupid as well, talking to a professional fighter. I've had fights before, but obviously street fights and things like that, being a dickhead as a youngster, that doesn't really compare to what you're doing. But it's like, I've been in a fight before. I know what it's like to be punched in the face. But letting down my dad, who's come all the way from across the country to come and watch me fight in a charity boxing match, don't want to let you down. Plus, I don't want to go down in front of my missus. How embarrassing is that?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is how I explain it to people is like, you know, I bet you have no problem having a little sing-song at home. You know, yeah, cool.
Oh, I love a sing-song, mate.
But then if I say to you right now, you're going to do it in front of 18,000 people, you're probably going to start to...
5p, 50p.
Yeah, so for me, it's the same sort of thing. You know, I fight every day. We spar. Well, not every day, but, you know, we're always sparring. We're always fighting. And, you know, as you say, getting punched, getting beat up, it's not really that bad. You know, it's not much different from going paintballing with your mates. You know, it hurts, of course, but it's not that big of a deal. But like you said, losing in front of your friends and family, I don't want to do it. You know, obviously in the UFC, it's my career as well. So you can't afford to lose, let's say, especially with how that you fight, you get your money, you win, you get double. So it's very important, obviously, on a business side, that you've just got to get the win and obviously perform well, because this is a one-man sport. You know, there's no one else in this with me. It's me versus my opponent. The UFC are going to judge me on how I perform, not how the team does. It's all about me. So I need to make sure that I go in there and put on a good performance and get the win. So that's where I think the pressure comes in. And then, like you said, you know, you got all your friends and family there, or they're watching on the telly, and that gives you that added pressure. But for me now, I have learned that it's better for me to have the pressure, and the more nerves that I have, it always makes me perform better. So
it's like being thrust on that big stage helps you sort of flourish as an athlete. It's fucking brilliant, which is why I like
at the early stage of their career whether they're going to fight or flight.
Yeah,
you know, I don't think 20,000 people actually makes much difference compared to 200 people. You know, it's the same kind of concept. And if anything, the bigger it gets, sometimes the less real it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, when I used to fight at the O2 Indigo and Cage Warriors, and I think it held, let's say 1,500, 2,000 people, when that was packed out, that felt a lot more intense because it was so small and confined, whereas the O2 is massive. So you can only see a certain amount of people, and then the other 15,000 are up here where I'm like, well, I can't even see them, you know. So yeah, for me, I don't think there is much difference. So, you know, I think if you can perform well in front of 500 people, I think you'll be able to perform well in front of 18,000. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Whether it actually works, I don't.
Well, everybody's different, and one of the reasons why I started the podcast was my mental health issues when I left the military, and the reason why I like to gravitate towards fighters and sports stars and athletes and things like that is the fact that you guys are starting to build this robust sort of mindset in terms of win or lose, you know how to take it, and obviously, especially in the likes of MMA, a lot of people go, well, that person isn't undefeated. It's like, come on, not in MMA especially. It's styles make matches, and you very rarely do you find a fighter that is going to go completely unbeaten because of that, and because of the high level, and it's not pick and choose who you're fighting.
No.
Which is a good thing, I think, because the best fight the best.
Yeah, definitely. And I say to a lot of people that in this sport, there's so much luck involved, like you wouldn't believe. It's just playing. It's like playing chess with someone. You know, sometimes you can have one bad game and you're like, oh my gosh, what have I just done? And I've given up and checkmate. That's it. And I've had it before. I've had it where I've had a guy that, you know, he wasn't a journeyman, but it was one of those where I should have beat him every possible place you could think of. And in the first minute and a half, when I took him down, I gave him an armbar, and I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" You know, and
yeah, exactly. Especially in MMA, there's so many different ways, isn't there?
Yeah, I feel like saying, let's start again. You know, let's start again. And that's not going to happen.
Whoa! Time out. Yeah, he's not supposed to do that. That's not supposed to happen.
You can't, and that's now on my record forever. You know, if it was in the gym, I would have just gone, "Oh, what am I doing? Cool, let's go again," and then that would never ever happen. But unfortunately, you make that one mistake, it's game over. You know, and that's what I love about the sport, because it adds that pressure. In boxing, you know, obviously there's people getting knocked out clean, but if you get dropped, okay, you get 10 seconds to get back up, and you can kind of get away with a mistake. In MMA, you get caught, the guy's going to jump on top of you, or the ref's going to step in pretty quick. And it's then 4-ounce gloves. You know, you can't afford to make a mistake. Even a jab could potentially knock someone out.
Definitely.
And that's what I love about it. You know, it makes the sport very, very real. And obviously, it's a blessing for the guy that gets the win. Like my opponent at the time, you know, he's got that on his record forever. Yeah. And it's also like a curse, you know, for the guy that messes up. It's a harsh sport. It's very cutthroat, and there's no room for error.
It's very humbling as well, isn't it? It's like,
100%.
I've said it before on the podcast before. I haven't done much in terms of jiu-jitsu and things like that, but I've got a guy that I've gone in and trained with. He's a purple belt, I believe, and I'm a complete novice when it comes to it. I know the odd different move. I can get into a decent rear naked choke. I can do a decent Kimura as well if I get the opportunity. However, this guy has got to be at least 20 kilos lighter than me. We're roughly about the same height. I'm a bit fatter than he is, let's put it that way. But it felt completely the opposite. It was completely the other way around. This guy was like a fucking gorilla on me. Like, I couldn't get him off. I was like, well, I can at least use my strength to get him off. No chance. And it was so humbling. And I was like, but it's those sort of moments that are humbling. Like, it like puts a little, like, a flick of a switch in your head. You're like, this guy literally, if he held that choke longer, I'm dead. I'm a dead man. He just killed me. Right. How can I do this to better myself?
Yeah. And that's why I think every parent, I think, should give their child the opportunity to learn MMA or learn jiu-jitsu, you know, whatever one it is.
Yeah, I get what you mean there. Yeah.
I think everyone should have the choice to learn how to defend themselves. Don't get me wrong, you know, there's so many martial arts out there. It's like, well, choose your pick.
Yeah, which one do you choose? Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely my kids, I will be sending them to learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
If they really, really don't want to do it, that's absolutely fine. We won't do it, but at least I can say I took you there. And if ever they come home and say, hey, Dad, you know, some kid's picking on me and I didn't know how to defend myself, at least I could know that I tried to get them to learn. If my kid come home and I'd never sent him, never taught him or her to defend themselves, it would break my heart if I heard them say the words, I didn't know how to defend myself.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a father myself. I've got two beautiful angels that are inside, actually riddled with COVID at the minute. Brilliant. But I've taught them a few little things. I knew a few different escapes. I know how to obviously sink in a good choke and whatnot. My eldest has got a nasty rear naked choke on her. Like I've got a video of her getting her granddad, my father-in-law. It was literally on my birthday. He was messing around with her, picking on her, and she managed to somehow sneak into the back position, put her hooks in, and sunk this rear naked choke on him. And I've never laughed so much in my life. You saw the panic in his eyes. And my father-in-law is 6'2", 6'3". He's physically fit. He's far fitter than me physically in that term. He's like 54, but she sunk it in. I was like, that's a proud dad moment right there.
Yeah.
I was like, she's got it. That's fucking brilliant. But I totally agree with you on that one. And that sort of comes to my next sort of question really was because your dad did martial arts, didn't he? He's a jiu-jitsu and I forgot the other thing. I did do some research earlier. You probably told. I was watching little documentaries all about you today. Get my fanboy on. But was that something that was encouraged to you by your dad, or were you always sort of liked fights and things like that?
So when I was about 10, my dad encouraged me to learn kickboxing. And I think I went, it was about for a year or a year and a half. And then I quit because it was clashing with my football times. The times all changed. At the time, I really liked playing football. So it was kind of which one would you rather do? Stuck with football. And, you know, it weren't a problem. My dad never, you know, pressured me into doing it. And then just when I was 15 or 16, I just said, you know, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to become an MMA fighter. And that is literally it. That was history. But luckily, you know, I've always been looked after. I've got good parents. You know, I went to good school. You know,
because that's the thing, isn't it? That's sort of a stigma behind fighters. People expect you to be from a bad background. You grew up in a ghetto. Your parents split up. Your mum ran off. Your dad beat you up.
Never bullied. Nothing like that. You know, I had a couple of little scraps at school, them sort of things, but nothing really that was anything crazy. You know, I never needed to go and learn how to defend myself or nothing like that.
That's pretty cool though, to be fair. I like that. Like, so from my sort of background, similar to yourself in that sort of aspect, football was my main love. But my old man was the other opposite to your dad, where my dad was, right, you're going to play football. Like, me and my brother had sort of a slight love for boxing and sort of combat sports, but it was never, no, you're not doing that. Thugs do that. That was my dad's sort of mentality, unfortunately. Which is weird because he was a physical training instructor within the Air Force, so they had to specialize in pretty much every sport. And he was like, well, I did boxing in the Air Force. It's like, okay, cool. Why couldn't we have done that? Because me and my brother, we were both pains in the ass, especially when we were out on the piss. We would always end up in some sort of scrap, especially myself, because I'm an idiot. And I thought it was cool back in the day, you know. Oh, did you get in a fight on the weekend? Yeah, I did. Idiot. But I was like sort of itching to be sort of put into a boxing camp or club. But where I was, it was literally football, football, football. My school was rugby, so I was either playing football or rugby. But yeah, I was like, when I got into the Air Force myself personally, I joined the boxing team straight away. I did judo for a bit, which was pretty cool. So I was like, yeah, I really wanted to do that. But yeah, it's amazing sort of how different paths you sort of take. And obviously at 16, finding a love in mixed martial arts and thinking, yeah, I definitely want to do that. That's pretty fucking cool, to be fair.
Yeah, I just always wanted to be an athlete, I think. And, for me, I'm very competitive, and I don't think you're ever going to find a more competitive sport than MMA. So,
yeah, well, that's the thing as well, because it's an individual sport. It's a team. You're in a team, but it's individual as well, which is brilliant. Best of both, in my opinion. Exactly. And you've got a pretty fucking cool team.
That's the one.
Definitely. And so you said you played football. So here's the question for you. Obviously, a London guy. Which London team is your team?
So technically, I shouldn't even really be able to say I support a team because I don't watch football anymore. I don't keep up to date with it.
Yeah, we'll let you have that one.
I'm originally a Chelsea supporter.
Oh, fair one.
Yeah, but if you said to me now, name 3 players,
you're like, okay, what? Yeah, well, pass. I'll pass on that because obviously, like I said, I had the mentor on. I had Brad on, who was. It was probably the first big, in my opinion, because I'm a fanboy of UFC and mixed martial arts. Having Brad on, I was fucking. Part of my French was jizzing everywhere. I was like, Jesus, I've got Brad Pickett on. Like I said annoyingly, I said to me, Missus, I've got Brad Pickett on. And she was like, who? I was like, what? I went, what do you mean who? I went, he's a pioneer for British fucking mixed martial arts. He's a fucking legend. And having him on, and I've said this about every single UFC star that I've had on the show, mixed martial artist. You guys are by far the most down to earth people to ever have a chat with. And Brad was even better because we were literally talking about Lego for about fucking 10 minutes.
Yeah, loves his Lego.
Yeah, he was showing me all around his fucking little office thing with all his Lego up. I was like, this is brilliant.
Funny story is that the other day his cleaner knocked his shelf off and has destroyed all of it.
Fuck off.
About 15 pounds. I think it was the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
But because it was next to the other stuff, there's nothing he can do about it because it's all been muddled up now. So
that's even worse because obviously Lego's a pain in the ass because it all looks the same.
Yeah. So now he has he's to me, I want to get it back, but he's like, I haven't got the time to do it. So apparently he's going to buy it all and then pay some nerd to fix it all for him. So I don't think he's too happy with the cleaner.
No, I'd be fuming. Yeah. Because I've got no patience as it is. In fact, I lost my shit at my missus because she was doing the cleaning in my daughter's room. And my daughter's a Harry Potter mad. So we've got all the Harry Potter. I've got fucking Hogwarts. I've got the Quidditch pitch, everything. And I'm shit. I've got no patience, mate. So when it comes to building Lego, I need my time. I need to have a beer to chill me out. Otherwise, I'm going to fucking flip out. Anyway, I built all this shit and she's knocked some of it off and it's smashed. And I was like, I've thrown out the fucking instructions. I threw the instructions out. I was like, it's not a toy. She's like, it is a toy. I went, it's not for me. It took me ages to build that. But to be fair, I was watching one of your little mini docs on YouTube, and the story of you meeting Brad was brilliant. You had a fanboy moment. You're like, that's fucking Brad Pickett.
Same as you. I said to my missus, that's Brad Pickett. And she went, who's that? I was like, oh, just, whatever. Don't even talk to me anymore. And it's cool. And now look at us. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. So, and to be fair, what he's done as a pioneer in the sport as well, and also taking like a bit of a franchise, you might say, by turning, you got a GB top team now, which is obviously part of American top team and whatnot. That's fucking brilliant. That just shows the type of guy he is.
Yeah, I think he said from the start, he's always wanted his own gym and he's always wanted to have it as Great Britain top team. So, it's nice that he's finally kind of achieved that dream, let's say. And now it's about, the fighters now representing and bringing back them wins and belts.
Yeah, we need to get some belts back to England. Obviously, Bisping can't be the only one. We're not having that.
Nah. Or maybe Leon Edwards now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well deserved as well.
Yeah, 100%.
100%, mate, on that one. But it's fascinating to me, like the level that you've got to fight at to get these belts, but obviously the level that we've now got within the UK.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. Because obviously, when I first started watching, I don't know if you were the same. I think we're around similar ages anyway. But obviously, you had Bisping, you had Brad, and you had Dan Hardy, and that seemed to be like it for ages.
Yeah.
And now there's this burst of British talent.
Yeah. It just shows how much the sport's growing, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what's it going to be like in another 10, 20 years?
How young the sport is as well.
Yeah.
And what it's now coming to, it's like more people are talking about the UFC, as that always makes me laugh as well, by the way. It's like the UFC has got this sort of title around mixed martial arts. It's brilliant. It's like, do you watch UFC? Do I watch UFC? Is there?
Do you train UFC? Innit?
Do you train UFC? Nathaniel, do you train UFC or not? Or you?
I do dabble in it. I dabble in UFC.
He does dabble in the UFC, but it's awesome, mate. Did you ever get an opportunity to do anything like tough or anything like that, or were you just
no? For me, I always looked at tough as the B entrance, if that makes sense. And I always thought, no, I'm going to get through the front door. You know, I'm going to get signed. I'm not going to have to go into the.
And to be fair, that punch you delivered to get signed.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
I wanted to win a title first, and then
So when you connected with that, did you even feel it? Because I've heard that when you connect with a punch like that, it's as though
I felt it, but it was one of those where before I even looked, it was it's a knockout. You've got that.
You knew because you can see it. Like you've hit him, and he's obviously fucking gone stone, and then landed, and you go over as if to go right. I need to finish.
That's why I put my arms out, and then I don't want to hit him again. Do you know what I mean? Like, so luckily, obviously, you know.
What was that feeling like though? Because obviously, you're in your hometown. You just knocked some guy into the fucking nether realm. I don't even know if he's recovered from that still. He's probably still not recovered.
Yeah, it's a good feeling because it's obviously I knew as well that it was kind of, if you win this one, you're going to the UFC to an extent. If you win it in good fashion, you know, you got
to make a statement, haven't you?
45 seconds in, you've got a knockout and defended your belt. You know, that's a pretty. And I think my opponent at the time was 12 wins, 1 loss, so good record. You know, he wasn't no like journeyman coming off a couch. You know, he was there to win and take my head off. So
and plus, Cage Warriors is no walk. Cage Warriors is no walk. There's some fucking epic fighters that come out of Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you which fight I watched earlier was the fight with you and Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
That was some round.
I still hurts my head thinking about it.
Yeah. Like I was watching it, I was like, oh, he's got. No, he's not. I was watching it like I was reliving the fucking fight.
Well, that's that, you know, I said about when you've got that crowd behind you, it gives you that extra little boost.
Yeah.
All I remember thinking is, I can't go out like this. You know, it was Cage Warriors kind of sold it as England versus Wales. He had a great support there. I had a great support. And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get bashed up in front of my hometown in the first round. There is no way. I wasn't even going for a takedown. You know, I was like, nope, there's no way that I'm going out like this. And I had that crowd behind me and spurred me on. You know, I got through it. And in my head, I was thinking, you know, you got to kill me if you think I'm going out. So, you know, luckily the ref didn't stop it. I came back, finished him in round.
I thought that, right? Because you took a few fucking shots and you could see one of them that like knocked you back a bit and you were like, oh, fuck me. Best put my hands up a little bit. And fair play to you because you fucking got the win at the end of it. And just fucking madness, mate.
Yeah.
But it's as though that you had a bit of a reputation for having a good chin, as they say.
Yeah.
And I watched a couple of your other highlights that I watched earlier, and I was like, yeah, he's got a fucking chin. Like some of these shots that you've taken is like, fuck, I could knock anybody out, and it's madness because you fight obviously at bantamweight, which apparently is they don't hit as hard. So fuck off. I wouldn't want to take a fucking hit from any of you guys. Definitely not.
Yeah, luckily, my chin. It's only the John Dodson fight where he caught me. If I'm honest, it was just a flash drop.
I was about to say to you on that one as well, because I watched that back and I was like, you're not out though. You're sort of trying to get up.
Yeah, that's the thing about MMA.
And he hits those fast shots, doesn't he, Dodson? He throws about 14 punches in about a second. And you're like, what has just happened?
So after that fight, I was absolutely fine. There was no damage, but
he did though.
He flash dropped me, and
he had a massive cut under his eye from as you were going in. It's a bit like not to the same extent because obviously Aldo got fucking knocked out in the 13 seconds. But as Aldo comes in and hits fucking McGregor, he hits him at the same time as he's getting knocked out. And it's like, hang on. If he had not been knocked out, that could have gone a completely different way. But you've caught him on the way in and he's caught you. You've buckled a little bit. And then he's hit you at about 3 or 4, 5 punches on the way down. You're still all right. But the referee's gone, nah, he's not.
And that's the thing about MMA.
Is that frustrating? How do you feel after that? When you're like, I'm fine. Like, because obviously sometimes you see some fighters and they go, I'm fine. You're like, you weren't, mate. You were on Queer Street. Your legs had gone. But you seem like you were standing up. That's got to be frustrating.
It is that, and it's that sport of it's curse and a blessing. So for John Dodson, great. He got the win. The ref stepped in. For me, curse. If the ref had just left it for 10 more seconds, I reckon I would have got it. And it's the same with the Josh Reed fight. Mark Goddard, the ref, could have stepped in. And if he had stepped in, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. And maybe Josh Reed would be there. But for me, let's call it the MMA gods. The MMA gods were on my side.
Yeah, there's a lot of people talk about the MMA gods.
Yeah. And that's the thing about luck. There's a lot of luck involved in this sport. And it's very harsh. Josh Reed, I think, went on after that and had a couple of losses. I went on and got signed by the UFC, and my whole career has completely changed. So it is a sport that's about luck, and it is a sport that's about consistency. I've lost in the past to people who aren't doing anything with their careers now, and here I am, earning a good living, earning good money, I'm fighting for the UFC. So it's about consistency and sticking with it as well. And having belief, you got to believe in yourself. So too many fighters these days, I think, take a loss and then, they're, oh no, it's, the world's ending.
I've seen that. And it's as though they're expecting too much too soon as well. Yeah. Like they see the likes of yourself, fucking Paddy, etc. And they're like, why am I not getting that? And then they put too much pressure on themselves to try and leapfrog. And then you see them on interviews or on Twitter, fucking Instagram or whatever, and you're like, what that doesn't sound like you. Be authentic to yourself. If it's supposed to be, it will be. And I'm aware that you guys are supposed to market yourselves in a way because you are a brand. And obviously you've got your own brand as well. your clothing line and things like that. So you are a brand. You've got to push yourself. But there's things that there's ways to do it, I think.
Yeah.
But if it's not authentic to yourself, you're gonna get found out pretty quick.
Yeah, that's something I've always said as well.
Like, not everyone is gonna be fucking Mystic Mac, Conor McGregor. You don't need to be that sometimes.
No. That's why I always say to people, I say you gotta stay true to yourself. And then if you can entertain in the process, then, jobs are good. And so hopefully personality's enough to be liked.
Yeah. That's the way forward, I think. Like the ones that I sort of follow and sort of gravitate to are the ones that are authentic, are real to themselves, still down to their sort of roots, known in their local communities and things like that. Like yourself, you're a local boy in London. You fly the flag.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'm a fucking London boy. And then you got the likes of, well, I'll use Mason because he's been on my show quite a lot. He's a good lad, and I respect what he's done. And he's exactly the same. He's from Wales. He's local to his team. He's gone to America to do his training because that's how he feels he needs to progress. But every time I've spoken to him, he's so down to earth and so fucking sound. He's like, that's how you need to be. You don't need to be a fucking arrogant dickhead.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. I think, just people need to. I can understand why people put on an act if it's for money and things like that.
Yeah. I don't get me wrong. I understand all that. I understand it's a business at the end of the day, and sometimes you do have to sell yourself like that. But don't be a dickhead.
Exactly. And that's why I always say that Anthony Joshua, I like how he does it, because there's a lot of people that say, oh, no, he's not actually that much of a nice guy and he's not actually humble. And well, I'm like, if he's not, then he's been found out by now in coming across well for the kids of today. He's a role model. He's got to set an example. So I believe that he is a nice bloke. And if he's not, well, then at least he's setting a good example to the younger generation.
You know what? I think you're spot on there, mate. And he had a lot of shit because of the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Excuse me. Spat everywhere then. Excuse me. Apparently I can't hold my saliva in. But no, apparently he got a lot of shit for the Black Lives Matter movement and whatnot. And it's like, whoa. That's his culture. That's how he's brought up. He's a black male in the world. That's how he sees it. He's not been a dickhead. He's sticking to his roots. And from what I've seen in documentaries and conversations and podcasts and all that sort of stuff around him, he hasn't changed one bit. No. At one point,
my old boxing coach trains him now, Angel Fernandez, and obviously knowing Angel personally, he says what a great guy he is. So I take his
and you don't just become the level that he's at if you're a dickhead.
No, 100%.
And the way that he's taken his losses as well. Again, another reason why I admire fighters as a collective is the way that the majority are so humble in victory and defeat. Yes, you can be cocky in the prediction. You can be cocky in the build up, but the respect is always there, and you can always see it within fighters. We'll take Kell Brook and Amir Khan, for example. They fucking hate each other, but in the end of the fight, they were all like, you bested me, fucking well done.
Yeah, once you've had a fight, you've had that fight. What more is there to say?
Exactly. I do love it though when you get, for example, take Conor McGregor and fucking Nate Diaz, for example. So they've had their two already. The first one, Nate obviously fucking shocked the world, or not shocked the world, choked him out. They were both humble. Then the shit talking started again. It was like, oh, here we go. We're building up for another fight. McGregor wins. Humble at the end, shake hands, all love. And then the shit talking started again. It's like, fucking hell, we know what you're doing. And the same with Dustin Poirier and McGregor again. It's like, you're all fine, and then you hate each other again. We know what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell fights. And brilliant. Fucking good on you. That's what you want.
Yeah.
I think the more animosity sometimes helps build the fight.
Yeah, of course, people like to see that rival kind of, their matches where the guys hate each other.
Do you do that or not? Because I've seen, obviously, as growing up, I loved Michael Bisping, and I can't wait to watch his documentary. I haven't yet, but I need to. And he was one that always had to pick a fight with who he's fighting. It was though he had to have that sort of
spark. No, I don't need to do that. For me, it is a sport. It generally is, and that's why I say, I fight every day. I go to the gym and I spar my teammates. Fair enough, we don't go as hard as I would be going in the actual fight, but it's the same concept. Do you know what I mean? Where I explain it as we play fight for a living. And by play fight, I mean we have a referee, we have rules. We have quite a few rules actually that people don't realize about. We're in a safe environment. We have medicals. We have so many things that make the sport safe. I call it play fighting. There's rules. You can't bite someone. You can't kick someone in the.
Oh yeah, right. You're right. It's not as though that you and your training partners and your coaches are going, right, let's street fight. Anything goes. Absolutely not. So I totally get what you're getting at. And when I was in the amateur boxing team for the Air Force, I had one sparring partner in particular, Sam Brown, who he was a very good boxer. I'll give him that. He was fast, and he was annoying because he was so fast. He was lighter than me, so we were always paired up because I was heavier, so he had to fight someone heavier to get used to fighting someone who had a bit more power. And then I had to get used to someone who was a bit quicker. But we literally would beat the fuck out of each other. And at the end, we were like, that was a good sparring session. And then the coaches would come out. The coaches would come out and go, what are you two dickheads doing? It's like, we're sparring. We're doing what you told us to do.
It's all about having fun and then, go and have lunch together after. But,
it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. So
I'm gonna be that guy, but my battery's got 3%.
3%. Fuck.
Killing me,
it's
man.
all good. It's all good. We'll go for a couple more minutes until you get to about 1%, and then we'll fucking play it.
In case it just goes.
That's fine. That's it. Cut to black like Sopranos, mate. We'll cut to black. But yeah, it was literally like that. We would go through these fucking killer sessions, and it was like, what are you having for lunch? Oh, yeah, we're having this. And then it'd be next, we're fucking banging shit out of each other.
Yeah, that's the way to be. As I say, it's a sport, man. So,
and as we said all the way through, a humbling
I guess
sport.
Masvidal and Colby Covington, obviously, they got some stuff going on.
That's a weird shit, that is.
Yeah, so that's when it becomes no longer a sport and it's now personal, and it's to the point where things are going on outside.
I always, because obviously, you guys in mixed martial arts have fought for so long to get this recognized as a sport, and for me, personally, I see sports as a whole. I'm a sportsman at heart. I did sports science through fucking college. I love anything sport, and I was like, for so long, I was like, why hasn't the likes of Michael Bisping, Conor McGregor, we'll even take yourself for example. Why are you guys not listed in like sports personality of the year, things like that? Because you should be. You're not talked about on things like Talk Sport unless Michael Bisping goes on to Talk Sport and talks about it.
Yeah,
and rightly so. Should be breaking down these fucking stigmas and what have you. And it is heartbreaking. Like, because as a sportsman, it's like you guys need to be recognized, and then you get dickheads like that are fighting outside the organization after you guys have fought so hard to go, we're not thugs, we're not fucking Neanderthals trying to fucking break the world.
I think it's just coming with time, the longer these sports around for, the more people realize, okay, this is actually a sport. This isn't a thug, having a fight in a cage. It's actually two amazing martial artists that are putting their skill sets to the test.
That's what I love. Because it shows the different skill levels that you guys have. You guys literally are fighters. You're not a boxer who can just throw hands. You can do fucking everything, and you could probably destroy anyone at anything in terms of fighting.
Yeah.
But because you're in a cage, people go, well, it's fucking brutal, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck off.
That's the thing. And it's like, because of the elbows, there's a lot of cuts, but people don't realize that that's just like superficial stuff.
Yeah,
the real damage is what goes on inside your head. And
100%.
if you're boxing, that's 12 rounds of constant head trauma. In MMA, you don't really get that. You know, if you get caught really hard, you're probably out, and that's your body protecting itself.
Yeah.
To say to someone, okay, 10 seconds and you keep going, that's not good. That's your body not wanting to do that.
And
I actually think our sport is a lot safer.
It genuinely is a lot safer. And I've looked into it, and I've done a little bit of research here and there. Like I said, I did sports science at college. The fucking boxing glove, not only does it weigh 8 ounces upwards, so it's heavier, but it's also fucking massive. That hits you in the head. That's the whole head going, what? Fucking wobbling about. And it's actually probably better off you getting hit with a 4-ounce glove.
100%.
Being either knocked out clean and you're like, oh, I'm out. Or you've hit me that hard, your fucking hand's broken, mate.
Yeah.
You're not going to hit me that hard again.
The only times I've gone to A&E if I've got my nose broken and broke my hand, damaged my foot, which I thought was broken. It's just little superficial things like that, Touch wood, I've never had anything too serious.
Is that a pun as well? Touch wood or not?
Yeah. So yeah, it is. But you can say I'm biased, but it's a lot safer.
You might be, but it's also a cut is a cut. Like, you hit me with an elbow, you cut me open, the ref goes, you're fucking bleeding too much, you're out. Cool, I can get that stitched. I might have a cool alley scar for a bit, but as that is what it is.
It's not long-term damage, let's say.
You're not getting fucking shook. Your head. Yes, there is obviously that element of CTE and etc. that comes with the sport. Sure, but you look at more fighting, more fucking.
You're a boxer, and you're boxing. All your sparring is head damage. In MMA, we do wrestling sparring. We do jiu-jitsu sparring. And it's not necessarily the best for your joints. Getting put in an arm bar, but if let's just say that, I've had a little bit too much damage today on my sparring session, tomorrow, cool, I'll go and grapple. I'll give my head a rest and let my brain recover to a certain extent.
I was literally saying that to my missus the other day, because she was, we were watching, obviously, the London event, and afterwards there's the Meatball Molly documentary. And obviously, in one of her fights, I think it was in Liverpool, where she got choked out and she was out.
Yeah.
And my missus was like, that's got to be dangerous. Like, why? She's just gone to sleep.
Yeah.
She's not dead. She hasn't been knocked down. She went to sleep.
Yeah.
I went, what? She wouldn't have tapped because you can go to sleep.
Yeah.
I went, most people might tap because they don't want to go to sleep. Sure. I went, you'll probably find the majority of fighters will tap when they're in an arm bar or a Kimura or ankle lock, knee lock, or whatever, because they're your joints. You're going to be out for a long time if they pop a fucking elbow or something. I went, going to sleep, you'll be fine within the next fucking 20 minutes or so. You'll be back to normal. You might be a bit shook up for a bit because you're like, fuck, in real life, you just killed me. But
mate, on that note, I think it's about to die.
Mate,
I don't want to.
We'll take that. I'll take that, because this has been fucking brilliant. I could have talked to you for hours. I could have gone full Joe Rogan on you. And I actually respect you let me know that instead of it cutting to black like The Sopranos, that's cool.
You know what it is? That's why I said we was meant to come on earlier, and then I realized I hadn't charged it. And then I've only given it a quick 20 minutes or half an hour.
It happens. So, I'll just have to get you back on once you've got a fight locked in.
100%, mate. Let's do it.
Mate, genuinely, the honour's been all mine. And thank you very much for coming on. Cheers.
Thank you for having me. Cheers, mate.
Catch you in a bit.
Bye.